Chapter 53, The Ingenious Use of Wei Wu. Han Yi sat calmly in the center of the courtyard, listening to the bitterly cold voice filled with resentment. He frowned and said, "Lady Chen, if Chamberlain Chen betrayed you, it's enough to recognize him for the faithless man he is. Why did you have to commit suicide out of sentiment and stake your own life on it? Even if the other party had turned into a vengeful spirit without any consciousness, it didn't rule out the possibility of awakening them with their past memories. If he could awaken their consciousness, it would be much easier to solve the problem." Han Yi was willing to give it a try. Resentment lies in every heart, but one should not repay hatred with hatred, else they won't end up well. The people you've killed are so many, and they were all innocent, unfortunate. In the end, you still did not have a good end, and you will have to scatter your soul and spirit. All men must die. Thief male ghost hanging from the eaves didn't move, and the ghostly voice became even more miserable and sharp. The wind howled in response, and the willow branches swayed incessantly. Such a strong yin aura. Seeing this, Tushin Kingly expressed a hint of surprise in her fox eyes. She had seen a fair amount of ghost objects, but seldom could. "Young master, why bother to argue with her? Just let me extinguish her." Han Yi sighed and said, Lady Chen was already a pitiful person in her lifetime. Now, as a ghost object harboring resentment, I wished she wouldn't hold on to this resentment when her soul and spirit scatter. Now it seems that thought can't be realized. "Go ahead." "Yes, young master." A green light flashed in the pupils of the white fox, then its body leaped up, turning into a puff of green smoke, aiming at the house. "All men must die." The miserable ghostly wail echoed for the third time. The ghost image hanging from the wooden beam began to shake, broke free from the restraints of the hemp rope, turned into a wisp of black air, and pounced towards Han Yi. This time, all the places passed by the black air turned into solid frost. The bewitching ghostly voice brought before Han Yi's eyes fragments of memory, a red bride, alone with a veil on her wedding night, guarding an empty room. In the next instant, a picture of a middle-aged man in beautiful clothes arguing with a woman appeared. Afterwards, the woman was seen crying bitterly in a dark room. Finally, on a deep night, she put on makeup, wore her red wedding dress, and hung herself. All the scenes accompanied by a crash sound, shattered altogether. Han Yi's sight was quickly restored to normal. His eyes opened wide, realizing it was the effect of the Tao heart like a rock. The impact of the ghostly illusion was lessened on him, so he was able to wake up quickly. Han Yi shook his head, feeling that it was indeed whimsical to reason with a vengeful spirit. The black and green rays of light collided with each other, constantly shooting across the wooden beam. Han Yi saw this and was somewhat surprised. It shouldn't be like this. Can't the little fox crush this female ghost with her Dao Gong? Bang! A loud noise came as the wooden beam broke. Several strands of black air separated and then regrouped, rushing towards Han Yi. It seemed that she didn't want to fight with the little fox, but she wanted to settle her score with Han Yi, a man. In a split second, with fox pupils connect spirit, Han Yi finally saw Lady Chen's face. She had a terrifying visage, with glowing red eyes. She was pale and blackened, her long red tongue was extremely eye-catching. She was wearing white mourning clothes. Her 10 fingers were incredibly sharp. She said predictably, "All men must." Han Yi's eyes narrowed, gathering the true ki and dragon and tiger breath from his dantian into his fists, just waiting for her to come over, planning to give a fatal blow and scatter her soul and spirit. But when the female ghost arrived 3 meters in front of Han Yi, her voice and movement both stalled. Her neck, lengthened by the hemp rope, swayed irregularly, turning abnormally as if to scrutinize Han Yi's face. She didn't pounce, but stepped back a few steps like a shy girl. Her long claws, which had been raised, now dropped down. "Young man," a hoarse voice squeezed from the female ghost's throat, so masculine, so handsome. "Huh?" Seeing this, Han Yi felt a chill run down his spine and couldn't help but narrow his eyes. "Master, be careful, ill." The little fox sent a message, trying to attack from behind. "Wait!" However, Han Yi interrupted the little fox's spell and stopped her. Seeing the female ghost's reaction, he wore a strange expression, thinking of a possibility. Could it be that the attribute of this Wei Wu legacy also affects ghost objects? Come to think of it, this Lady Chen is a married woman. Men patches of bright, blood-streaked glow abruptly brightened and dimmed within Lady Chen's eyes, as if she was enduring non-human torture and resisting. Han Yi just watched her transition between the two states, back and forth, because he faintly felt something was amiss. The female ghost was stiff for a long time, and her normal black pupils seemed to have finally recovered. The surrounding gusts of yin wind stopped abruptly. If my husband had been as understanding, masculine, and handsome as you, perhaps I wouldn't have hated him. Lady Chen's voice became steadier, regaining its composure without the heartbreaking wailing from before. Her physical manifestation of resentment was also not as thick as it was before. On the side, Tushin Kingli resumed her human form, looking shocked at this scene. It was her first time experiencing this situation. The resentful spirit actually recovered her sanity? What did the gentleman do? Lady Chen, have you let go of the resentment in your heart? Han Yi tentatively asked. Hey Emph, how can the hatred of the world be so easily forgotten? Lady Chen let out a cold scoff, her long red tongue constantly flickering about in her mouth. It appeared rather eerie. Hearing these words, Han Yi quietly clenched his fist once more, ready to strike at any sign of change in her demeanor. But then she said something that made him pause. But if you could hold me, perhaps I might be able to let go. Han Yi froze in place, not expecting Lady Chen to say something so extraordinary. Ever since our marriage, my husband has always neglected me. He has never held me. If you can hold me, then I can say someone has cared for me in my life. Han Yi wiped the non-existent cold sweat from his forehead. Looking at her terrifying face, he was very hesitant. Getting close to a resentful spirit is indeed incredibly risky. However, if this could help dissipate her resentment, then their mission here would be complete. If a real fight breaks out, there would be considerable risk. This female ghost battled Kingli evenly. Her yin air is dense. She's not as weak as he initially thought, and the outcome of a conflict is yet to be determined. If all it takes is a hug to resolve the issue, then that is much simpler. With that thought, he opened his arms. Seeing Han Yi's reaction, Lady Chen's dusky face relaxed, appearing to carry a trace of embarrassment. However, she did not extend her hands to embrace Han Yi because she was a spiritual body, and it's destined that humans and ghosts cannot interact. Although Han Yi could see her, it was only because he possessed the fox pupil perception. He could fight with the demon fox merely due to the collision of yin air and spiritual ki, not because she has a physical presence. Lady Chen looked at Han Yi in front of her, appearing as if a wish had been fulfilled. Thank you. At this moment, her ghostly body slowly dispersed and gradually vanished. Seeing this scene, Han Yi knew that her resentment had truly dissipated. Resentful spirits are supported only by a breath of resentment, and once that dissipates, the residual body will disperse. Accompanied by the clarity of her consciousness, memories from Lady Chen's life began to return, flashing before her like a flipbook. In her youth, she was also a pretty young woman, pursued by many young men. Still, in the end, she married Chamberlain Chen, an ordinary-looking man but a man of wealth and prestige. All because of his feverish pursuit, quickly capturing her body and mind. But who could have guessed that this Chamberlain Chen was a playboy? He treated many others just as he had her. She was merely the first. After Chen grew tired of her, he went after younger girls and neglected her. Even on their wedding night, he was absent. After enduring such ill treatment for so many years, one night, she decided to put an end to her misery. She had even written her suicide note, but she hesitated because no one would take care of her family after her death, so she didn't commit suicide. But at this time, a person appeared. That's right, it was this guy who drove her to her death. At the end, Lady Chen suddenly remembered why she died. She abruptly opened her eyes, wanting to tell the handsome young man the truth. But she could no longer speak because without her resentment, she was destined to dissolve. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared between heaven and earth.